So, I almost didn't read this book because Harry Dresden is problematic. I just finished reading the graphic audio version of the first Dresden Files, Stormfront, and I feel severely misled by what other booktubers have said about specifically Harry Dresden being sexist, misogynistic, and I feel like I was misled by different reviews done by booktubers, and I'm going to discuss how Harry Dresden is not problematic. So cheers, and let's get into it. So I picked up the Chirp graphic audio book because it was on sale for Stormfront, the first book in the Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. And despite all the reviews saying that Harry Dresden is sexist, a misogynist, chauvinistic, just an all-around horrible character towards women, I thought I would find out for myself if this was actually true, because I had sworn off this series based on those statements in reviews about this book. And pointedly, these reviews discussed on how Harry's inner thoughts, since we are in his mind for the entirety of this book, and based upon how there's been multiple booktubers have talked about this inner monologue being problematic. I thought his inner monologue was going to be more derogatory than it actually was. I was quite surprised because I was listening to the graphic audio dramatization, and I know sometimes they can swap around lines and omit certain things based on how they act the book out, and none of the dialogue or the inner monologue in his head was that bad. So I was confused that maybe they had changed some of the words so that they didn't say them on their production audiobook. I looked up on the Libby app to find if they had an ebook to borrow, which I then cross-referenced with the ebook whether the same words and same dialogue and everything matched up with the graphic audio version, and found that they were exactly the same, and the supposed derogatory language that I expected from this series was not true in the way that it was represented in the reviews that I saw. I had assumed it was more explicit, more than it ended up being, so I am rather upset because I almost did not read or start this series because of these reviews, and I ended up giving this book 5 stars and loving it. Had I not gone out on a whim and decided just to throw a couple dollars to get this audiobook to try out, I wouldn't have read this series based on those reviews. And not all the reviews were completely negative. It's just those specific points were brought up in the negative side of their reviews, their critiques on the book. I think it was still misrepresented in how it actually plays out in this book. I'm gonna put a timestamp in case you really don't care about this rant that I'm about to go on and only care about what I thought about the book. But if you care about my feelings on the misrepresentation of Harry Dresden, then keep listening. Y'all, you read romance and romantasy with women ogling over men and their abs like the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. Firstly, can we stop having double standards? You have your smutty pumpkin spice novels that ogle over men, and men aren't allowed to have characters like Harry. Harry, who makes generalized statements about how women look when he approaches them in the book. I'd also like to point out that even when he approaches the male characters to give description in this book, he also determines whether that man is attractive or not. Jim Butcher gives descriptions in equal measure between male and female. But since Harry happens to be a straight white male, shock horror, he finds women attractive. And I can assure you, if the thoughts that Harry's having towards women upset you, these are tame compared to what they could be. Since this book is very similar to the TV show Supernatural when that was popular, we had Dean and Sam as the main brother characters. Imagine, if you will, we got the entire show's perspective from Dean's head. Do you think possibly Dean would have similar thoughts to Harry? Because I think if we were in Dean's head, we would get even more disrespectful thoughts towards women. Now, if you've been around real world, real life men, Harry's thoughts are tame. And you maybe don't like to think about this, that what men are thinking about women on a daily basis. But guess what? You can't change it. Ever since Eve ate that fruit from the tree, forever, both men and women have had that temptation in their life. Therefore, Harry Dresden is just like any other man, and nothing he's thinking is problematic. There was also, after I was done writing my Goodreads review, I noticed someone mentioning the occurrences of using damsel in distress. To this, I would posit one of the women he refers to being the damsel in distress or playing the damsel in distress. You do know other women are very manipulative, and why wouldn't a woman pretend to need help when she knows a man will help her? And also, as much as you want to be a girl boss and do everything yourself, I've been a woman that's worked in a scene shop, construction shop. I've welded. I've used power tools. I've done lighting for theater and hung lights. So yes, as a woman, I was able to do all those things. But guess what? You will get to a point where you cannot do things by yourself. You cannot do things alone. As much as you don't want to accept that truth, that's the truth. And I personally don't see a problem with a damsel in distress. It's a man's motivation to protect and save the lady of the story. So I personally have no issue with calling someone a damsel in distress, because sometimes I am a damsel in distress. Maybe you just want to girl boss it up, but I personally don't find offense in saying that sometimes women do need help. Like I said before, let's not have this double standard in your spicy, smutty novels. You are reading about the idealistic man, the man society or culture of the time props up as being the trophy, I guess. And Harry Dresden in this book is commenting on his idealistic woman by pointing out things about the women he meets and the different attributes that he either finds attractive or doesn't, that just caters to what he prefers as a potential wife. And I'll also argue these women have basic natural beauty features that he's complimenting and commenting on. But in your romance and romantasy novels, a lot of the time, these attributes are unattainable for men. If you want a man that looks like they have alien eggs in their stomach, just saying, that's probably 1% of men can attain this body standard. Think that they're going to be caring more about themselves and their body than caring about you. That's just my thoughts. And I'll probably do a totally different video on why I don't read smut or spice, but that'll be in a later video. I'm going to stop this rant here. I think I am going to forever be bitter about the way I was misled on this book, and I chose not to pick this one up based on the fact that I thought there was derogatory language used by the main character, but there's not. So, Stormfront, book 1 of the Dresden Files. This book was an awesome mix of mystery thriller and fantasy. As a person who reads both, I found it a great melding of the two. I fell in love with the entire cast of characters, and I absolutely loved Mr. the Cat. Jim Butcher always wins me over with how he portrays his cat characters. And also, if someone had told me he had a cat character in this book, I would have picked it up immediately also. But no, all I got was misleading information. But I can't wait to see how Harry's character evolves and changes and goes through things from this first book to the rest of the series. We got a solid backstory for him in this first novel, and I can already see what things he's possibly gonna have to deal with in the future, which is exciting and makes me want to continue reading this series. Murphy, his Chicago PD sort of sidekick, she is set up pretty nicely too. You get like snippets of her backstory as well, since she is not really the major focus of this first book. I think maybe possibly we'll get more later in the series. And also, not to touch too hard back on my rant I just did, if Harry Dresden was sexist, he would not present Murphy in the way that he does, because he respects her as a cop, and anyone who is sexist would be disrespecting towards her title and rude towards how she got in that position. That also fuels my argument that there's nothing wrong with Harry Dresden. The magic in this is pretty simple to understand. It's your basic wizard magic, wizard spells. You also have the magical creatures like vampires, demons, fairies, the usual magical creatures, at least for now. I don't know if in later books we get like more imaginative creatures that Jim Butcher creates. And I didn't feel like there was ever info dumping for this information in the book. I think it was well presented in a way that you weren't just thrown a ton of information. You kind of got little snippets of how magic worked and introduced to different magical creatures throughout, that it wasn't overwhelming. I think there was only one instance of an info dump for me, and it was an instance of something in Harry's backstory that came at a time that it wasn't out of place, but it also was kind of like, oh, we're getting some more backstory in this moment. And the pacing of this story was fantastic. It hit that mystery thriller pace that you would expect with any mystery thriller, which is also why it was easy for me to binge in one day. It had that I don't want to stop reading quality, that just one more chapter, stay up late at night to finish it type of read. So I fully understand why this series makes people throw away their TBR plan, and I don't plan to do that quite yet. I think I'll save it at least until next month, next year, because I thought about doing spoiler vlogs where I also try to piece together the clues we're given to solve the mystery with Dresden, because I sort of pieced together this one, which I really enjoyed, that I could piece it together but not completely like 100% figure it out. So I would be interested in the next few books if I can piece it together with Dresden or before Dresden. So let me know if that sounds interesting in the comments below. Also, in the comments below, if you have anything to say about my rant, I would love to know whether you still think Harry is an issue or you don't. And if you hit that subscribe button, I can see everyone in the next video. Thanks for watching.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the